Have you ever stopped and really thought about why you buy the things you buy? I mean, why you pick one brand over another, sometimes without even thinking about it? Well, let's dive into that, because the answers are kind of fascinating and they're hiding in plain sight. Just think about this morning. That coffee you grabbed, or that shirt you're wearing. Why that one? Was it just the price? The cool packaging? Or was there something a little deeper going on? Well, it turns out that choice was anything but random. In this explainer, we're going to peel back all the layers of why we buy things, and we'll be using one of the most respected books on this subject as our guide, Chapter 3 of the 17th edition of Marketing Management by the legendary Philip Kotler and his team. All right, so let's start with the biggest, most powerful influence of all, the one that's so big we barely even notice it, our culture. You can think of it as our invisible programming. As Kotler puts it, culture is really the bedrock of what we want and how we act. It's this whole set of values and beliefs we just soak up from our family and society from the moment we're born. It's basically the operating system running in the background of our minds. And you can see this programming play out in some really interesting ways. Take a look. In more individualistic cultures, like in the US, a purchase is often all about me. It's self-expression, it's about getting the best possible deal for myself. But in more collectivistic cultures, like in Mexico, the focus totally shifts. It's more about the group, about buying for the family, from a store that everyone trusts. And, it doesn't stop with national culture. Pretty much every society has social classes, different groups that tend to share the same values, the same interests, and, yep, you guessed it, the same buying habits. It's just another layer shaping what we think is worth buying. Okay, so now let's zoom in a little bit. Let's go from that big, broad culture to the people you actually see and talk to every day, your social circle. In the world of marketing, these are called your reference groups. It's a simple idea, really. It's just all the different groups of people in your life that have some kind of sway over what you think and what you do. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. You've got the family you grew up with, right? They basically install your core values. Then there's the family you might create, and they have a huge say in what goes into the grocery cart every week. But we're also influenced by groups we wish we were a part of, and maybe even more powerfully, by the groups we want absolutely nothing to do with. And in all of these groups, there's always that one person, right? The friend who knows everything about the latest phones, or the cousin who's an incredible cook. In marketing, that person has a name. They're called an opinion leader. Sound familiar? Of course it does, because that classic marketing idea of an opinion leader has just been put on steroids by social media. Today, we just call them influencers. Okay, so we've got culture and we've got our social circles, but what about just you as an individual? Well, that brings us to the next super important layer, all of your personal factors. And marketers look at all of this. I mean, your age, what you do for a living, how much money you have, that stuff obviously matters. But then there are those huge life events. Getting married, having a kid, starting a new job. Those can completely rewrite the rules and create a whole wave of new things you suddenly need. And all of this connects to a really big idea called self-concept. We are constantly, often subconsciously, choosing brands and products that either match who we think we are right now, our actual self, or who we wish we were, our ideal self. That car you drive, the phone you carry, they're not just things. They're sending a signal about who you are. All right, now we get to the very heart of it all. We've peeled back culture, social groups, and personal stuff. So what's left? Well, it's the engine that's been driving everything from the start, our own psychology. To really get a handle on our psychological drives, people often look to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The idea is actually pretty straightforward. We've got to take care of our basic needs first. Food, shelter. Only then can we start climbing the pyramid to worry about things like belonging or status or becoming the best version of ourselves. Now this, right here, is probably one of the most important things to take away from Kotler's work. Marketers don't create our need for love or safety or respect. Those needs are just part of being human. What marketers are really good at is showing us how their product can satisfy one of those needs that's already there. And here is a perfect story that shows this in action. Back in the 50s, Betty Crocker rolled out this amazing instant cake mix. All you had to do was add water. Super easy. But it didn't sell. So why do you think that is? The answer was absolutely brilliant. The mix was too easy. It made home bakers feel like they were cheating, like they weren't really baking for their families. So the company made one tiny change. They took out the powdered eggs and told people to add one fresh egg themselves. That single step tapped into a deep emotional need to feel like you're contributing, to feel like you're showing love, and sales went through the roof. And that whole story leads us right to our last big psychological idea, which is perception. It's all about how we see the world, how we interpret information. Because at the end of the day, two people can look at the exact same thing and see something completely different. In marketing, perception isn't just important, it's everything. So, okay, we've gone from the culture we live in all the way down to our subconscious brains. After all that, what are the big ideas we should walk away with? Well, here's the bottom line. First, no purchase is an island. It's always a mix of cultural, social, personal, and psychological forces. Second, and this is a big one, marketers create wants, not needs. They take a need you already have and point it toward their product. Third, our feelings about a brand are often way more powerful than the facts. And finally, knowing all this stuff doesn't just make you a better marketer, it makes you a smarter, more aware consumer. So let's go all the way back to that cup of coffee from this morning. Now that you know all this, was it really just about the caffeine? Or was it about feeling a certain way, a sense of identity, a little moment of comfort in your daily ritual? Yeah, something to think about.